Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to 9 p.m. English News Edition. Dahlan. The head of state received a delegation in charge of mediation between Kenya and Somalia. For international scene, Washington under tension 2 days before the change. That was Ahlan Sana. Welcome to the national news. The chief executive received the delegation in charge of mediation between Kenya and Somalia. This delegation, headed by the ambassador of Djibouti to Kenya, Mr. Yassin Elmi, gave a account of his mission. Therefore, the aim objective of this delegation is to establish diplomatic ties between Kenya and Somalia. This delegation, moderated by the head of state of IGAD, member of state, is composed of Ambassador Yassin Al-Mahbou, the ambassador of Djibouti to Somalia, Mr. Aden Hassan Aden, General Ali Mohammed Dahir, General Osman Noor Soubel, Colonel Mohammed Barkat, Colonel Ali Aden, as well as representative of IGAD. In his speech, the ambassador of Djibouti in Kenya denoted that Djibouti's diplomatic relations with Kenya based on the principle of cooperation, understanding, and mutual respect. Thereafter, the two friendly states share for peace and security in the East Africa region. Both countries play a central role at the Amazon and African Union levels. For that, today we are this reason to the ties between Kenya and Somalia. At the end, he thanked the Egyptian government for the warm welcome. As usual, the president received the report of the Court of Auditors for the year 2020. This public report takes up the work carried out by the state and Court of Auditors during the year 2019, including in particular the executive of the 2018 budget. This year, new elements have been taken into account without single point of cross-examination. More especially, this report has given an important place to exchanges with this commission for monitoring and correcting anomalies noted by the Court of Audit. On the other hand, with the practitioner of public finance management, thanks to the Colloquium on Finance. Also, at the presidency, the head of state also received a report on the human rights situation in Djibouti for the year 2019. This report was submitted by the president of the National Human Rights Commission, Sullivan Udun, and is composed of several parts. The first part of this report is represented by of the mission and function of the CNHD. The second part provides complete retrospective of the mission carried out by the CNDH in context of the year 2019, and the third chapter contains a conclusion and series of recommendations by CNDH with a view to great affirmation of human rights in our country. The Prime Minister Abdul Kamil Mohammed, accompanied by the President of the Assembly, Mr. Mohammed Ali Mohammed, participated yesterday evening in the closing ceremony of an air defense tactical simulation exercise of the French Air Force at the date 188 Air Base. On his arrival at the air base, was welcomed by the French ambassador to Djibouti, Mr. Arnaud collapse on the French Comfort Journal Le Pen. And after the Prime Minister and the President of the Assembly had a presentation on the air defense simulation exercise by the head of the French Armed Forces stationed in Djibouti General Dupont in the presence of the pulse of the Air Force, the 188 Colonel Saunier and Colonel Lamiral. The exercise took place in two stages, the first in the summer 2020 and the second began on January and were closed in the presence of Croatian officials. The IGAD Center of Excellence for the Prevention and Fight Against Violent Extremism held this morning at the Sheraton Hotel workshop to validate Djibouti's national strategy for the prevention and fight against violent extremism. The aim of this workshop is to equip the Republic of Djibouti with an exclusive and comprehensive strategy. The center will seek to empower youth, women, religious leaders, and civil society to build their resilience and capacity to counter a violent extremist ideology.
Said earlier about the need for the collation of data and evidence-based research as well, because I think what we're looking for is inclusive, conflict-sensitive and gender-sensitive approaches based on evidence, but these approaches leading to conflict prevention. I won't provide very detailed comments on the draft action plan today. I got to see it yesterday for the first time, so what I'll say this morning are just some broad comments.
Adoption and validation of Djibouti's National Action Plan to prevent and counter violent extremism represents the culmination of a long and concentrated effort made by many of the distinguished experts here today. Your hard work has paid off. The event marks an important milestone in Djibouti's efforts to keep the country safe from those who would use violence to achieve their goals. It will play an integral role in maintaining peace and stability in the greater IGAD region. The U.S. government places countering violent extremism as an integral part of its national security strategy. We know we have to work together to improve our readiness and resilience in the face of extremism, and this is why the U.S. government supports the work of IGAD and welcomes the National Action Plan.
The Secretary Executive of IGAD, Dr. Worknet Kohiu, said, "I would like to open my remarks of sincere thanks to the government of the Republic of Djibouti, the government of the United States of America, the European Union, civil society partnership, and all stakeholders here present who are working to keep our youth and all us safe from the threat of violent extremism. In particular, the government of Djibouti has appointed a new state prosecutor with enhanced power to prosecute terrorist cases. I'm pleased to note that in the same year, Djibouti joined the global coalition to defeat Daesh."
Great pleasure to welcome you all at this very important time. I would like to open my remark by sincerely thanking also the government of the Republic of Djibouti through Your Excellency the Minister, Mr. Mahmoud. He is always our supporter, and the government of the United States of America, the European Union, civil society partner, and all stakeholders here who are engaged in keeping our youth and indeed all of us safe from the threat of violent extremism. As you know, colleagues and excellencies, 2020 was a bonus year for agents of insecurity and destabilization. The coronavirus pandemic distracted many states and governments from the effort they had been making to curb violent extremism. They were instead compelled to turn their attention to the more immediate threats to our health and wealth. Like weeds in fellow farmland, we have been new forms of extremism sprout up in different parts of the world. Just as a coronavirus has been mutating, we have also observed new strains of violent extremism that include radically and racially motivated terrorism, ethnically motivated extremism, ideological terrorism from both the extreme left and the right wing of thought, intellectual extremism funded in conspiracy theories and undermining of expert authority, and radicalized cancel culture that seeks to deny recorded history and violently overturn any reality or perspective that is not aligned to it.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mr. Mohammed Ali Yusuf, made a statement. Please listen this speech.
To proceed with you all to the validation of the Djibouti National Action Plan to prevent radicalization and counter violent extremism. We have to commend the valuable work done by the team of the CVE, the IGAD Secretariat, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and all other stakeholders. The competent ministries, Youth Ministry, Religious Affairs, Justice, Interior Affairs, all were involved at different stages in the elaboration process of this action plan. This also has been made possible thanks to the unwavering support of our partners, the United States and the European Union. Thank you all for this. Excellencies, dear colleagues, preventing radicalization and countering violent extremism is indeed a lengthy process. It takes a balanced education, raising awareness among youth, and better training to community leaders and religious authorities. The rule of law and the respect of the Constitution are essential components of the whole education process. Ladies and gentlemen, Djibouti is no doubt a peaceful country, and the Djiboutian people lives their faith and beliefs in harmony and tolerance. However, Djibouti is engaged on a number of regional and international stages to combat terrorism and fight against violent extremism. Let alone this responsibility that our government shouldered over the years, we have received on our soil foreign forces to take this fight to new heights. But as rightfully said before me, prevention and sensitization is key and critical to an efficient policy and strategy in countering violent extremism. Besides, our national strategy is an all-inclusive one, which put together a synchronized approach between many stakeholders in our society. Besides, no repressive measures could bear more fruits than an inclusive strategy based on better education and good communication combined with the rule of law and the respect to the Constitution. These are the proven ingredients for a balanced and tolerant society. Our government is vigilant and cares about school programs, religious teachings, and preachings.
The Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Secretary of State of the Government of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia visited the port of Tajura today for walking visit accompanied on the Egyptian coast by the Minister of Transport, His Excellency Musa Mohammed Ahmed, and the President of the Port Authority, Mr. Mohammed Hadi. The delegation was welcomed by Prefect Hassan Dabali, the President of the Regional Council of Tajura, Mr. Umar Hussein, and the Director of the Port of Tajura, Mr. Umar Hassan Umar. During their visit, the Ethiopian delegation toured the different installations of the port and also made a representation of the performance of the activities. The highlight of the visit was the signing ceremony of an agreement concerning the import of gold via the port of Tajura. This signing of an agreement concerning 1 million tons of vehicles was signed by the director of the port of Tajura, Omar Hassan, and the general manager of the Ethiopian Petroleum Company. The Feder Ahmed Shahim Ahmed, accompanied by several traditional personalities, went to the brigade of the National Gendarmerie to pay last tribute to the young brigadier Muhammad Ali Hirsi, who was godly shot dead by armed elements on the night of 4 January 2021. First of all, the Majlis of the Tajura expressed the sympathy and condolence to the Prefect family and wished a speedy recovery to the injured civilian member of the Majlis, the customary Chief Ibrahim. A summer for the signing of partnership agreement between Minfob and WFP took place this morning at the minister's headquarters. The signing of the convention was completed by Mr. Mohammed Abdullah Mahyoub, Secretary General of Minfob, Mr. Oliver Hans, representative delegate of the WFP Jaburi. The present convention aims at formalizing the partnership framework between Minfob and the WFP for the implementation of vocational training in the transport and logistics sector in Jaburi City and in the region of Tekil and Tajura. And now, the Colonel Umar, the Federal Shahim Umar, the catch of vaccination companies is full swimming, particularly in the company of Balbala, where the team of vaccinator, community health workers, and community relays have been scratching all day Nepal in search of children lost of COVID-19. This mobile team is proceeded with a door-to-the-door strategy in the Nepal to sweep the area widely so as not to leave a single child behind. And now moving on to the international news, the Twitter hangs over the inauguration ceremony of the Bugatti the Joe Biden. Washington looks like a coming intention around the capital. Please listen to the report of Dini.
The threat hangs over the inauguration ceremony of Democrat Joe Biden. Washington looks like a camp entrenched around the Capitol. The assault on the Capitol on January 6 is in everyone's memory. The National Guard is on the alert. On Sunday, a man with involved security at Wednesday's ceremony was arrested at a checkpoint for possession of an unregistered pistol and illegal possession of 500 rounds of ammunition. Defense officials also fear they may miss an attack from the inside. An insider who is believed to be one of the members of the service involved in securing the inauguration. The FBI is therefore in the process of checking the backgrounds and connections of the 25,000 National Guard soldiers who will be in Washington for the event.
That's it for this edition. Thanks for your attention. Very wonderful evening.